Novella 1. Part 1. In which the hero makes a very foolish, but fateful mistake. The young man's name was Lin Zhao, and he considered himself a sensible person. He never argued with his superiors, never bought food from suspicious street vendors, and most certainly never touched strange objects in old temples. So when he touched a strange object in an old temple, he was very surprised. The temple stood at the edge of the village and had long served as a storage place for cobwebs, dust, and questionable rumors. At the very center of the hall stood a stone circle, and within it a mirror, cloudy like memories after a bad dream. There was a plaque on the mirror. Mirror of the spirit world. Do not look. Do not touch. Do not ask questions. Interesting, said Lin Zhao, violating all three rules at once. The world gave a small cough, the mirror trembled, and the young man fell straight through his own reflection, managing to think only one thing. I hope there's no fine for this. Part 2. In which the spirits turn out to be nothing like the legends. The spirit world greeted him with the scent of incense, the ringing of bells and a queue. The spirits stood in a long, winding line. Fox spirits discussed the weather. A ghostly warrior argued with a skeleton accountant about taxes on heroic afterlife deeds. And a massive stone demon complained about drafts coming through his cracks. Excuse me, Lin Zhao said carefully, is this the spirit world? Yes, replied a spirit wearing an official's hat. And what is your business here? I, accidentally. The official sighed so heavily it felt as though he had been doing this for 1,000 years. Accidentally is the most common reason. Please come with me. They led him to the registration hall, where an elderly spirit woman sat behind a desk, holding an ink brush. Name: Lin Zhao. Cause of death: I'm alive. The brush froze in midair. Oh, another one. It turned out that the spirit world was not terrifying at all, but extremely busy. Here they repaired broken curses, stitched torn destinies, and argued over whether being turned into a toad should be considered a temporary inconvenience or a life lesson. You can return, they told Lin Zhao. But first, you must help. Help whom? Us. We've lost a spirit. An evil one? No. A very polite one. That's what worries us. Part 3. In which the hero learns that even spirits appreciate tea and good jokes. The missing spirit turned out to be an old bridge spirit. He sat beneath a willow tree, drinking tea, and refused to go back. I'm tired, the spirit said. People no longer greet me, no longer say thank you, and one boy even drew a mustache on me. They weren't bad mustaches, Lin Zhao noted. The spirit softened. They drank tea, told stories, and Lin Zhao realized something strange. The spirits were neither monsters nor judges. They were guardians of habits, words, and small gestures that people had stopped noticing. When the spirit returned to his post, the spirit world glowed faintly, and the mirror opened once more. You may stay, they told Lin Zhao. He thought of his village, his life, and said, I think I'll just visit sometimes. He stepped through the mirror and returned to the temple. From that day on, he always greeted bridges, thanked doors, and never read signs out loud. Because the spirit world listens. And, worst of all, it has an excellent sense of humor. Leaf fluttering in the wind sparkles. Novella 2. Part 4. In which Lin Zhao returns, pretending it was entirely by accident. 3 weeks had passed since Lin Zhao returned from the spirit world, and during all that time the world had been behaving suspiciously. Bridges creaked as if they wanted to talk. The temple bell rang even when no one touched it. And one day the teapot in his kitchen sighed so deeply that Lin Zhao apologized automatically. "I'll just take a look," he told himself, standing before the old temple. Just with one eye. The mirror of the spirit world looked pleased this time. "You again?" it asked. "I'm here on business." "You're always on business." And Lin Zhao stepped inside once more. Part 5. In which the hero learns that spirits have kafs, gossip, and very complicated personalities. His first new acquaintance was the spirit of rain, named Yushi. He sat on a cloud, drank hot broth, and looked extremely irritated. "People are complaining again," he said. "They say I don't arrive on schedule." "Do you even have a schedule?" "Of course not. But they believe I do." Yushi led Lin Zhao to the district of everyday phenomena. There lived the spirit of staircases, offended that people run on him. The spirit of lost things, eternally busy. The spirit of queues, the most powerful of them all. In the cafe called Three Bells, the spirits discussed the latest news. "Have you heard?" whispered a fox spirit. "The human came again." "That one?" "Yes. The one who talks to objects." Lin Zhao bowed politely. "I don't talk," he said. "I listen." This immediately improved his reputation. Part 6. In which a great event occurs, namely, the loss of the tea spirit. A serious problem arose, the tea spirit had vanished. Without him, tea turned out either too bitter or excessively philosophical. The spirit world grew uneasy. "Without tea, decisions cannot be made," declared the elder spirits. "And decisions cannot be postponed." Lin Zhao went searching and found the tea spirit in the mountains. He sat by a fire, gazing at the stars. "I'm tired," the spirit said. "People drink tea, but they don't pause." Lin Zhao sat beside him. "I do. Sometimes." "Fine. I'll do it more often." They fell silent, and it turned out to be the best conversation of all. When the tea spirit returned, the spirit world exhaled in relief. The mirror opened once again. "You're a regular guest now," the spirits said. "I'll stop by briefly," Lin Zhao replied. "And leave on time." The mirror smiled. "We'll see." And in the human world, people began to say, if tea suddenly tastes especially good, it means someone in the spirit world has just told a very good joke. Teacup without handle. Cherry Blossom. Novella 3. About the wind spirit who liked to rearrange things. Lin Zhao noticed that something was wrong while still at home. Scrolls on the shelf kept changing places. One day the curtain tied itself into a knot he did not know how to make. And his hat appeared on a hook where it had never hung before. "I'm not angry," he said aloud. "I'm just curious." The wind answered with a draft. The mirror in the temple asked no questions this time. It merely shifted slightly aside, as if making room. The spirit world greeted him gustily. The wind rushed through the streets, lifted papers, flipped signs, and laughed. Not maliciously. More absent-mindedly. "It's him," said the spirit of door hinges. "Acting up again." "This is not mischief," came a voice from above. "This is composition." The wind spirit descended from the sky. He looked like a young man with perpetually fluttering sleeves and the expression of someone who never puts things where he will later find them. "You are the human who greets emptiness," he said. "I liked that." "And you are the one who rearranges my thoughts," Lin Zhao replied. "It's confusing. Then it's working." It turned out the wind spirit's name was Fenglu, and he was responsible for the movement of unimportant things. Leaves. Words spoken under one's breath. Forgotten intentions. But lately, he had been bored. "People have become too purposeful," he complained. "Everything is planned. I have nowhere to wander. So that's why you keep stealing my scrolls. I was checking whether you'd notice." "I noticed." "Excellent. Then you're alive." Fenglu led Lin Zhao to the upper quarter, where the wind rested. There lay unfinished letters. Words that wanted to be said but weren't. Ideas postponed for later. "May I sit here for a while?" Lin Zhao asked. "Just don't think in straight lines," the spirit warned. "The wind dislikes that." They sat in silence, while the wind carefully rearranged the clouds so that the shadows fell beautifully. "You know," said Fenglu, "I won't touch your things anymore." "Why?" "Because you already lose yourself from time to time." "That's fairer." When Lin Zhao returned home, everything was in its proper place. Almost. One scroll lay upside down. On it was written, "Sometimes it's useful not to know where the wind is blowing." Lin Zhao smiled and did not turn it over. And the wind outside laughed softly. Because humor, too, is a form of movement. Leaf fluttering in the wind. Novella 4. About the spirit of forgotten promises, who remembered everything perfectly. Lin Zhao realized that someone was watching him when he began remembering things he had not intended to remember. He recalled a promise made in childhood to himself. Then a sentence once spoken to a friend and postponed for later. And finally, a vow pronounced with great confidence and fulfilled in approximately no way at all. "That's not fair," he said to the emptiness. "I was busy." The emptiness coughed. The mirror in the temple opened slowly, as if offering him a chance to change his mind. Lin Zhao did not. The spirit of forgotten promises lived not in a hall nor in an office, but in an archive no one wished to visit. Shelves stretched far into the distance. On each lay scrolls with neat labels. "I'll start on Monday." "I'll definitely write when I have time." "Careful," said a voice. "These things are fragile." The spirit was short, simply dressed, with the expression of someone who already understood everything and was in no hurry at all. "Did you come because of them?" he asked. "It seems they came because of me." "That is usually how it works." "Are you angry with me?" Lin Zhao asked cautiously. "No," the spirit replied. "I collect. I don't punish. Punishment is another department." He picked up one scroll. "You gave this one to yourself 10 years ago." Lin Zhao blushed. "I still could." "Of course," said the spirit calmly. "Promises do not spoil. They simply wait. All of them. Almost. Some grow up and leave on their own." In the corner of the archive, small lights were sitting quietly. "And those promises that were forgotten forever. They glow so they won't be too sad." "And what happens to them?" "They warm those who wander in here by accident and are being too hard on themselves." Lin Zhao sat beside them, and it grew warmer. When he was leaving, the spirit handed him a thin thread. "This is one promise," he said. "The lightest one." "Which one?" Not to be too strict with yourself. Lin Zhao nodded and felt the thread dissolve, as if he had truly agreed. At home, he noticed that the mirror was slightly fogged. Someone had written on the glass with a finger. If you remember, it isn't forgotten. Lin Zhao smiled and, for the first time in a long while, did not promise himself anything new. Because sometimes the most honest promise is giving yourself time. Herb Scroll. Novella 5. About the spirit of things that almost happened. Lin Zhao did not notice him at once. At first, he simply began stumbling over thoughts that did not exist. Phrases like "what if" appeared without invitation and left before waiting for an answer. Once, he reached out to close a door and, for a brief moment, felt as though he had already done it. Interesting, Lin Zhao said. Very interesting. The mirror in the temple was cloudy this time, like water after rain. Don't linger at the edge, it warned. It's slippery there. The spirit world led him to a place without corners. The roads gently diverged and immediately converged again. Doors stood ajar, but not quite open. Clocks showed a time that had not arrived. Watch your step, someone said. It's easy to step on an almost here. Lin Zhao turned. Before him stood the spirit of things that almost happened. He looked like someone about to smile, who changed his mind at the last moment. Do you live here? Lin Zhao asked. I stay here, the spirit replied. Living is further on. They walked past shelves. On them lay letters not sent because of a single word. Steps not taken because of a single doubt. Meetings that did not happen because of one extra minute. Do you keep them? Lin Zhao asked. I don't keep them, said the spirit. I keep them from becoming heavy. He took one scroll and unrolled it. Here is a conversation you almost began. I remember it. Of course. What almost happened is often remembered better than what did. Can they still happen later? Lin Zhao asked. The spirit shrugged. Sometimes. But then they will already be different events. These ones have done their work. What work? They showed you where you might have gone. They reached the edge of the hall. There was a balcony opening into fog. Don't come too close, said the spirit. People sometimes try to jump there. And what happens to them? They come back. But afterward, they watch their step far too carefully. Before leaving, the spirit handed Lin Zhao a small pebble. What is it? A moment that almost became decisive. Carry it, but don't examine it for too long. Back home, Lin Zhao found the pebble in his pocket. It was warm, but quickly cooled. He placed it on a shelf. Between books he had almost read. And things he had almost needed. Sometimes he looked at it. And moved on. Because almost is not a failure. But a polite gesture from fate. Leaf fluttering in the wind sparkles. Novella 6. About the spirit of chance encounters. Lin Zhao entered the spirit world with a caution he had not had during his first walk. But the caution turned out to be useless. The first to meet him was the spirit of chance encounters. He appeared and disappeared as if playing hide-and-seek, only the rules changed every second. Back again? Lin Zhao asked. No, the spirit replied. I'm everywhere. Aha, Lin Zhao shrugged. You're like a draft. The spirit laughed. A draft is too serious. I'm chaos of small importance. Strange things were happening around them. A cup flew toward the table by itself, but almost missed. A book opened on a random page where the hero almost said "I love you." Passers-by in the spirit world bumped into one another, and always smiled. "I see you're busy," Lin Zhao said. "Busy?" The spirit looked surprised. "No. I just create opportunities." Lin Zhao nodded, feeling the world become slightly mad and incredibly cozy at the same time. The spirit suggested a walk through narrow streets Lin Zhao had never seen before. "This is where unplanned meetings happen," the spirit said. "Sometimes with others. Sometimes with yourself." They saw an old master who accidentally met his student 100 years later. A fox shapeshifter who was almost caught and thanked the wind for the chance. A bridge spirit who fainted because someone said "thank you" again. "And me?" Lin Zhao asked. "Am I a chance encounter too?" "Oh no," the spirit smiled. "You're an unexpected surprise. Too important to be accidental." When they reached a small bridge, the spirit stopped. "Here's your meeting for today," he said. "Just look carefully." On the bridge stood a little girl holding a paper crane. "Hi," she said. "I'm lost." Lin Zhao understood that this was not just a meeting, but a lesson. Sometimes the most important moments are the ones no one planned. The spirit of chance encounters patted him on the shoulder. "Ready for the next ones?" "They're already on their way." Lin Zhao sighed and smiled. "All right," he said. "Just promise no one will fall off bridges." The spirit laughed. "Oh no. Falling is part of the program. But laughter is too." When Lin Zhao returned to the human world, he noticed that even the most random encounters now left a warm aftertaste. And in his palm lay a paper crane. "Probably a chance encounter too," he said, and placed it on the shelf. And for the first time, he understood. Sometimes the world wants you to be in the right place at the wrong time. Cherry Blossom Sparkles. Novella 7. About the spirit of candles and hearths. Lin Zhao stepped into the spirit world, and the first thing he noticed was the warm scent of smoke and vanilla. "Is someone baking pies here?" he wondered. But no, it was the spirit of candles and hearths. He appeared right on the flame of a small candle, which sat calmly in midair, as if on a chair. "Oh, you've come," the spirit said. "Finally, someone who doesn't try to blow me out at the door." "I just want to look," Lin Zhao replied. "Of course," the spirit nodded, "but look in a way that lets me make jokes." At once, the candlelight began to dance, forming tiny figures. A kitten trying to catch the fire. A mouse laughing at the kitten. A little flame at the edge of the candle nodding to Lin Zhao like an old acquaintance. "You're a joker?" Lin Zhao asked, surprised. "A light should never be boring," the spirit replied. "Even when it's small, it can say a lot." The spirit led Lin Zhao through the quarter of hearths. There, every fire was special. A hearth that warmed forgotten thoughts. Candles that kept conversations never spoken. Lamps that lifted the spirits of random passers-by. "I see," Lin Zhao said. "This isn't just light. It's attention to small things." "Exactly," the spirit said, delighted. "Every flame is a small life. Sometimes they tell more than books." Lin Zhao stopped near a large fireplace. "And what should I do with this?" "Nothing," the spirit said. "Just watch. And laugh, if you feel like it." Suddenly the fireplace came alive. The flames arranged themselves into letters. "Don't forget to laugh in the dark." "And this, did you write it?" Lin Zhao asked. "Of course," the spirit replied. "Light loves to play." Lin Zhao realized that all his previous walks through the spirit world had been preparation. He watched the flames and, for the first time, felt that darkness could be funny, if there was a little light nearby that knew how to joke. As Lin Zhao was leaving, the candles and hearths saw him off. Tiny flames hopping onto the steps. Light swaying like a cat's tail. One hearth even bounced, as if to say, "See you soon." Lin Zhao smiled and thought, the spirit world is full of wonders. But the simplest ones are fire, laughter, and warmth. At home, a kettle was waiting for him on the table. He quietly said, "I can be a lamp too." And for the first time, Lin Zhao understood. Every meeting with warmth is magic glowing star fire. Novella 8. About the spirit of the road not taken. Lin Zhao stepped into the spirit world and immediately noticed a thin trace, as if someone had walked along an invisible path. "Was that you?" he asked. It was a voice replied. "The spirit of the road not taken." The spirit looked like a person in a light cloak, holding a map, with the expression of someone who always thinks they are lost, even though they actually know every trail. So Lin Zhao said, "What exactly do you do?" "I observe," the spirit replied. "People walk along certain roads, and I live on the ones they abandoned. So, no one is here." "There's always someone here," the spirit smirked. "They just almost always thought they weren't." They walked along a narrow path that disappeared and reappeared again. "Why does this road exist?" Lin Zhao asked. "Because once, someone thought what if, the spirit answered. And then chose a different way. Along the path lay objects and small clues. A dropped glove that someone almost wore. A letter that was almost sent. A flower that was almost given. All these almosts," Lin Zhao mused. "Are they like shadows?" "Shadows," the spirit repeated. "No. They're opportunities for a joke." He waved his hand. Suddenly the glove hopped up, the letter spun in the air, and the flower, laughing, jumped straight onto Lin Zhao's shoulder. "See," the spirit said. "The road not taken still leaves a trace. And sometimes a surprisingly useful one." They reached a small hill. "People don't usually stop here," the spirit said. "But sometimes it's better to sit and think." Lin Zhao sat down. Wind, light, small objects, things that almost happened. All of it created a feeling of gentle magic. "What if I walk this road?" Lin Zhao asked. "You already are," the spirit smiled. "Just with different steps than you planned." The spirit handed Lin Zhao a small stone with a path scratched into it. "Carry it," he said. "When you forget where you wanted to go, this road will remind you." When Lin Zhao returned home, the stone lay on the shelf beside the paper crane and the promises. It vibrated slightly, as if whispering. "Sometimes the best road is the one you almost didn't take." Herb sparkles. And for the first time, Lin Zhao understood. Even the roads people leave behind are full of surprises. Novella 9. About the spirit of amusing little things. Lin Zhao stepped into the spirit world and immediately felt a tickle in the air, as if someone were quietly laughing right behind him. "Who's there?" he asked. "It's me," a voice replied. The spirit of amusing little things. He looked like a small person with enormous eyes and a bag full of objects no one had been expecting. "What do you do here?" Lin Zhao asked, surprised. "I entertain," the spirit answered. "With small tricks. People are far too serious sometimes. I fix that." First, the spirit nudged the objects around them. A feather swayed in the air as if dancing. A cup gave a tiny hop, and the tea briefly became a pattern on the table. A pencil came to life and left a little smile on the page. "Did you do that?" Lin Zhao asked. "Of course," the spirit said proudly. "And that's just the beginning." They walked through the streets of the spirit world, where small things came alive. A leaf fell and landed perfectly in the shape of a heart. A bell rang though no one touched it. An old scroll suddenly whispered a funny story about a forgotten pie. And all these things, Lin Zhao thought aloud. They just make people laugh. They make the world lighter, the spirit nodded. People rarely notice small things, but they remember them through laughter. Suddenly, a small bridge appeared before them, crossing a clear stream. "Careful," the spirit warned. "Serious thoughts tend to fall here." He waved his hand, and bubbles began to swirl above the bridge. One bubble held the squeezed-in phrase, "Oh, I forgot." Another carried a small smile left somewhere in the past. A third contained a tiny laugh no one had heard. "I see," Lin Zhao said. "You even know how to turn ordinary things into a joke." "Of course," the spirit replied. "Sometimes a joke is the only thing that saves a day." When the walk ended, Lin Zhao returned home and noticed small signs of playful mischief. The kettle bounced slightly, as if saying hello. The feather slid across the paper, leaving a tiny smiley face. And the stone given by the spirit of the road rolled just a bit, as if laughing. Lin Zhao smiled. He understood that sometimes even the smallest trick can make a day brighter, and the spirit world more cozy. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You're welcome," the spirit replied. "I'm always nearby." Little things are eternal. Novella 10. Final, all the spirits, tea, and one big smile. Lin Zhao stepped into the spirit world and immediately knew that today was different. The air was both cool and warm at once, carrying familiar scents, tea, candles, the faint dust of archives, and barely audible laughter. "You're here again," he heard a familiar voice say. "Yes, Lin Zhao began, but then he realized something. The entire spirit world was welcoming him like an old friend. Familiar figures appeared one by one. Fenglu, the spirit of wind, wildly joyful that he had not been completely forgotten. Yushi, the spirit of rain, giving a slightly damp wink. The tea spirit, who poured Lin Zhao a cup of magical brew himself. The spirit of chance encounters, constantly appearing from behind corners and vanishing again. Each spirit brought something of their own. Light for candles and hearths. Traces for the roads not taken. And smiles for amusing little things. "You know," said the spirit of amusing little things. "People sometimes think we're small and insignificant. We're everywhere," added the spirit of things that almost happened. "And we leave marks." Lin Zhao sat down on grass bathed in warm light and felt an unfamiliar calm settle inside him. "So, what now?" he asked. "Now you understand," replied the spirit of the road not taken. "Every meeting, almost every little flame, every laugh is part of you. And that's all?" Lin Zhao asked, surprised. "And that's everything," the spirit nodded. "The spirit world doesn't teach. It reminds." Yushi let fall a few drops of rain that smelled of freshness. Fenglu spun the air, and a gentle breeze mixed the scents of all the spirits together. The tea spirit placed a second cup before Lin Zhao. "To your health," he said. "To everything that almost happened, that did happen, and that will happen." "And if I come back again?" Lin Zhao asked. "We'll be waiting," smiled the spirit of chance encounters. As always, at the right time in the wrong place. Lin Zhao stepped out through the mirror, and the human world greeted him with its usual, but slightly magical, silence. He placed the stone with the carved path, the paper crane, the tea leaf, the feather, and the small smile side by side. Each of you is a small part of me, he said aloud. And for the first time, he understood. The spirit world was not a mystery, not a punishment, not a test. It was friendship, laughter, and warmth, always with you, if you only notice. And at sunset, as Lin Zhao took a sip of tea, a tiny candle flame flickered, as if whispering. Until the next walk, cherry blossom sparkles. Guide to the spirits of Lin Zhao's world. Yushi, spirit of rain, rain cloud. Personality, slightly grumpy, but honest and fair. Trey, moves off schedule and gets upset when people complain about rain. Joke, tosses drops so that only the feet of those who walk too seriously get wet. Fenglu, spirit of wind blowing, wind face. Personality, mischievous and free-spirited, loves chaos. Trey, moves small objects and unspoken words. Joke, shuffles Lin Zhao's scrolls to see if he notices the almost. Tea spirit, teacup without handle. Personality, philosophical, patient, slightly grumpy. Trey, ensures the quality of tea and creates coziness. Joke, makes tea overly philosophical if someone is in a hurry. Spirit of chance encounters, handshake. Personality, capricious and cheerful, loves unexpected moments. Trey, appears at the right time in the wrong place. Joke, makes people meet those they had almost forgotten. Spirit of forgotten promises, scroll. Personality, calm, attentive, slightly nostalgic. Trey, keeps all forgotten vows and promises. Joke, shows Lin Zhao promises he's forgotten, without reproach. Spirit of things that almost happened, thought balloon. Personality, philosophical, slightly mysterious. Trey, preserves almost moments and presents them as possibilities. Joke, shuffles small things so Lin Zhao can smile at his almost life. Spirit of candles and hearths, candle fire. Personality, warm, good-natured, loves coziness. Trey, brings fire to life, making it playful and storytelling. Joke, shapes flames into little figures and words to lift moods. Spirit of the road not taken, railway track. Personality, thoughtful, calm, slightly philosophical. Trey, lives on roads people didn't take. Joke, shows Lin Zhao how almost decisions can be surprisingly useful. Spirit of amusing little things, balloon. Personality, cheerful, energetic, loves mischief. Trey, animates small objects, making days lighter and funnier. Joke, moves objects, creates tiny laugh-inducing moments and unexpected situations.